future of our franchise quarterback is on the line. A star receiver is battling impossible odds, and an unknown linebacker could be the fix Dan Quinn desperately needed. Commanders Nation, what is happening in Ashburn during this bye week is explosive. While some debate if Jaden Daniels should play again this season, inside sources already have the answer. Deebo Samuel is carrying the offense on his shoulders, but is it enough without our starting quarterback? And hold on, because a draft prospect nobody was mentioning is emerging right when we need him most. Stick around until the end, because this is going to redefine the rest of our season. I am going to tell you something many are not seeing. While everyone talks about our losses and the roster chaos, there's something positive unfolding right before our eyes. Jordan McGee, the Temple prospect Adam Peters, selected in the 2024 draft, is finally showing why he belongs on this team. Do you remember the disaster that was our linebacker position during the Ron Rivera era? I do not even want to remember. It was an absolute nightmare, a constant rotation of players who could not cover, who could not tackle, who simply could not get the job done. It was so bad it was laughable or made you want to cry depending on the day. When Adam Peters arrived, he literally swept everything out. He fired the 6 linebackers who played in 2023, 6 that is not making changes, that is demolishing and rebuilding from scratch. And I tell you this, it was the right call. Peters brought in Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner too, names that immediately gave credibility to our defense. Both were selected to the second-team All-Pro in 2024. When was the last time the Commanders had 2 All-Pro linebackers in the same season? Exactly never. But here's the problem nobody wanted to admit. Bobby Wagner is at the end of his career. The man is a legend, a future Hall of Famer, but he is 35 years old. When he signed that one-year deal in 2024, we all knew it was temporary. He was the mentor, the veteran leader who was going to teach the young guys. The plan was simple. Wagner would play, McGee would learn, and eventually McGee would take over. But in 2024 that plan got complicated. McGee got injured early in the season, and with the team fighting for the playoffs, there was no time to give defensive snaps to an injured rookie, so McGee became primarily a special teams player. Now I ask you this, how many of you really believe McGee was going to develop into a legitimate starter? Because I have to be honest, I had my doubts. Seeing a prospect sitting on the bench his entire rookie season is not exactly inspiring, but here we are in 2025 and things have changed drastically. In the first 6 weeks of this season, McGee was still invisible. He was averaging just 4 defensive snaps per game. Wagner and Louvu were still hogging all the playing time. However, something shifted, and I think it was a combination of necessity and opportunity. Wagner, although still a fierce tackler, is showing his limitations in pass coverage. He cannot keep up with modern tight ends and running backs. Louvu has been playing more as an edge rusher due to our injuries, and frankly he looks out of place. So Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. took a decision, give more snaps to McGee, and in the last 5 weeks McGee has averaged over 30 defensive snaps per game. That is a massive increase, and you know what? The kid has responded against the Cowboys, against the Seahawks, against the Dolphins. McGee played well. It was not perfect, but he showed exactly what we want to see: speed, athleticism, solid tackles, developing instincts. Now let us be honest, against the Chiefs and the Lions McGee struggled, but you know what? Our whole team struggled in those games. They were complete blowouts, and trying to cover Travis Kelce or the multiple tight ends from Detroit is a challenge for any linebacker in the league. I tell you this, McGee is still growing, he is still learning, but he passes the eye test. He plays fast, he is athletic, he makes the tackles, and with every game he looks more comfortable, more confident. And do you know why this is so important? Because we are going to need McGee to be a quality starter. Wagner will probably retire after this season, and behind Louvu and McGee we only have completely unproven prospects. We do not have draft capital to spend on linebackers. We have other more urgent needs, so McGee has to work out, and the good news is he seems on track to do so after a year and a half watching Bobby Wagner, after studying, after waiting for his chance. McGee is finally showing he can be the long-term answer at that position. Now I ask you, how many of you had heard of Jordan McGee before this season? How many really believed a Temple prospect from the 2024 draft was going to turn into a solid starter for us? Because I have to admit he was not on my radar, but now he is emerging right when we need him most. If the McGee situation is hopeful, the Deebo Samuel one is frustrating, and I am not blaming Deebo, not at all, but the circumstances surrounding him are making it almost impossible for him to reach his true potential. When Adam Peters made that aggressive trade in the offseason to bring Deebo from San Francisco, we were all excited. Finally, Terry McLaurin was going to have a legitimate partner. Jaden Daniels was going to have an arsenal of weapons. We were going to have an explosive offense, and what happened? McLaurin has been injured most of the season. Daniels has only played 6 games, and Deebo, the guy who was criticized for his physical condition and injury history after the trade, has been the only constant. He has only missed 1 game. Let me repeat that the receiver everyone said was washed, was out of shape, was not going to hold up, has been our most reliable player in the receiver room. The irony is brutal, and Deebo has had to become the #1 receiver. Without Terry, he has had to carry the offense on his shoulders, and he has done it decently. It has not been perfect. There have been some sluggish games, but he has easily been our most dependable pass catcher. But here's the problem, and Ryan Shea from Sports Illustrated pointed it out perfectly. Circumstances out of Deebo control are making him unreliable, especially in fantasy football. And although fantasy is not what matters most to Deebo, Shea point highlights something bigger: the precariousness of his situation. Deebo is currently ranked as the number 16 receiver in fantasy, averaging 14.1 points per game. Those are solid numbers, but his ceiling is limited. Why? Because Jaden Daniels is injured and Marcus Mariota is the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. And I tell you this, it is not Mariota's fault. The guy is doing the best he can, but he is not Jaden Daniels. He does not have the same chemistry with Deebo. He does not have the same ability to extend plays, to create magic out of structure. With Mariota under center, Deebo's ceiling drops, his production becomes less reliable, and Shea says you should sell Deebo now in fantasy before his value drops further. And even though we are talking about fantasy, the real message is clear: Deebo's situation is unstable. Deebo is on pace to have 835 yards from scrimmage this season. Those are decent numbers, but are they enough for a lucrative contract? That is the million-dollar question, because Deebo is in the last year of his contract. After this season, he is a free agent, and what happens in these last 6 games is going to determine his future, not just with the Commanders, but in the NFL. Now I ask you this: how much money does Deebo deserve? Because that is the conversation Adam Peters is going to have to face in the offseason. Deebo did not expect to be the main focus of rival defensive schemes. He did not expect to have to carry the offense without Terry and without a healthy starting quarterback, but that is exactly what he has had to do, and I believe Deebo is doing the best he can in a terrible situation. But the reality is his value is being affected by factors completely out of his control. The injuries to McLaurin and Daniels are not his fault, but they are directly impacting his production and his financial future. When McLaurin and Daniels return, that is going to relieve some pressure on Deebo. He is going to go back to being the #2 receiver, the perfect complement to Terry, and that is probably going to make his production improve. But when are they going to return? That is another question without a clear answer. And meanwhile, Deebo keeps fighting against defenses that are marking him as the only real threat in our attack. I tell you this, the last thing Deebo cares about is fantasy football. But Shea warning highlights something bigger: the precariousness of his situation. Deebo has only 6 more games to prove his worth before the season ends. Our season is lost, we all know it, but Deebo's situation has huge stakes: his future, his next contract, his legacy with this team. Everything is on the line in these last 6 games. And do you know what is the most frustrating thing about all this? That Deebo is doing everything right. He is playing hard, he is being professional, he is being the veteran this team needs, but circumstances are conspiring against him. And now we arrive at the biggest news, the one that has all Commanders Nation divided: Jaden Daniels and his return. Let me start by saying this: there's a furious debate among fans about whether Jaden should play again this season. Some say we should protect him, that the season is lost, that it makes no sense to risk him. Others say he needs the reps, he needs the experience, he needs to be on the field. But here's the truth: Dan Graziano from ESPN revealed that debate is not happening inside the building. Not at all. The Commanders have a plan, and that plan is simple. When Jaden is medically cleared, he is going to return to the starting lineup, period. Graziano said, and I quote, "From what I have been told, the plan in Washington remains that Daniels will return to the starting lineup once doctors clear him from his elbow injury." Did you hear that? It is not if Jaden returns, it is when Jaden returns. That is a massive distinction, and I tell you this, it should not surprise anyone. This is the NFL. This is one of the most violent sports in the world. Anyone can get injured at any time. That is how things are, and everyone accepts it. Jaden has suffered more injuries than most this season. First it was the knee sprain, then it was the low-grade hamstring strain, and then it was that horrible elbow dislocation that could have been much worse. He has only appeared in 6 games this season, and he did not go to injured reserve, which means technically he is in play to return at some point after the bye week. When will that be? Nobody knows for sure, but Graziano says it is a matter of when, not if, and I believe that is the right thing. Some fans are not going to agree. They are going to say we are being reckless, that we are risking our franchise quarterback for nothing. But I ask you, what is the alternative? Sit him the rest of the season, wrap him in cotton, we'll treat him like he is made of glass. That is not the NFL. That is not how quarterbacks develop, and frankly, that is not the type of player Jaden Daniels is. Jaden has a competitive spirit that makes it hard to control him. The guy wants to play, he needs to play, and if the doctors say he is healthy, who are we to say no now? If it is just a symbolic gesture for the last game, then it makes no sense. But the forecast suggests Jaden is going to return much sooner, and with the need to salvage some respectability from this season, the Commanders need their franchise player under center. The Commanders have a bye week this weekend. are going to examine everything. They have lost 6 straight games to fall to 3-8 in what looked like a promising season, and there has been external debate about whether it makes sense to bring Daniels back at all this season, but from the inside the message is clear: Jaden is coming back, and I tell you this, it is the right decision. Is it risky? Sure, but everything in the NFL is risky. Every snap is a risk, every play is a risk, but you cannot play with fear. You cannot build a franchise around protecting your quarterback from playing football. And here is the other reality: Jaden needs those reps, he needs the experience. This is his rookie season. Every snap he misses is a lost learning opportunity. Every game he sits is lost development. Yes, the season is lost in terms of playoffs, but it is not lost in terms of development. It is not lost in terms of building chemistry with his receivers. It is not lost in terms of learning Cliff Kingsbury's system. And I ask you, do you prefer Jaden to sit and watch or to play and learn? Because I know my answer. I want to see him on the field. I want to see him take hits. I want to see him make mistakes and learn from them, because that is what great quarterbacks do. They do not hide. They do not protect themselves. They play, and if they get injured, they recover and play again. Now, obviously, if Jaden is not healthy, he should not play. If the doctors say he needs more time, then he needs more time. But if he is medically cleared, then he should be on the field. And according to Graziano, that is exactly the Commanders' plan. There is no internal conversation about shutting him down. There is no debate about whether he should return. The only question is when, and I think that shows something important about this organization. It shows they are not playing with fear. It shows they trust their medical process. It shows they trust Jaden. Some fans are going to hate this. They are going to say we are being irresponsible. They are going to point out all the injuries he has had. They are going to say the risk is not worth it. But I tell you, this is the NFL. Risk is part of the game, and if we are going to build something special here, we need Jaden to be on the field learning, growing, developing. The 2025 season has been a nightmare, but it does not have to be a total waste. If Jaden can return and finish the season strong, if he can show growth in these last games, then there is something positive to take from this, and I believe that is exactly what is going to happen. Jaden is going to return, he is going to play, and he is going to demonstrate why he is the future of this franchise. So there you have it, Commanders Nation. An emerging linebacker who could be our long-term solution, a star receiver battling impossible circumstances, and a franchise quarterback who is going to return no matter what. Some fans think this season has been brutal. I am not going to lie about that, but there are glimmers of hope. Jordan McGee is showing he can be a legitimate starter. Deebo Samuel is demonstrating his professionalism and his value, and Jaden Daniels is coming back to finish what he started. Now I ask you, do you agree with Jaden returning this season? Do you think McGee can be our linebacker of the future? What should Adam Peters do with Deebo in the offseason? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this content, if you want to keep receiving deep analysis of everything happening with the Commanders, I need you to subscribe to this channel right now, because I guarantee you that tomorrow we are going to have more explosive news about this team, and you cannot miss what is coming. So hit like if you think Jaden should return, subscribe if you want more content like this, and join this Commanders Nation family that bleeds burgundy and gold.